PickFu is a self-service consumer research platform that anyone can use to get fast, reliable feedback from real people. You don't need to be a market research expert or hire one to use PickFu. All you need to do is create a poll, choose your target audience, and in minutes, you're going to start getting results. Real written responses from your target audience. You can ask for feedback on just about anything related to your business, marketing material, product designs, product packaging, almost anything. The respondents submit written comments with every PickFu poll. And now you can use the coupon code NOT101, that's NOT101, for a free 15-person poll at pickfu.com, pickfu.com.
Welcome to Business Not 101, a podcast that explores the uncommon side of business, goes beyond the conventional teachings, delves into the practical, real-world strategies and insights from successful founders, entrepreneurs, industry experts that understand what drives growth and how to achieve success in an ever-changing business landscape. So join us, and let's go beyond the basics. Hi, Maja. How are you?
Hi, I'm great. How are you?
Excellent. So thank you so much for joining us on Business Not 101. Let's jump right into it. Please introduce yourself and what you do.
Yeah, first of all, thank you for having me. To introduce myself, I'm Maja Baranova. I'm mentor manager, I'm community manager. Also, I'm mentor myself and I'm a speaker, and I'm coming from HR background. So in the past, I was a recruiter. Then I moved to building HR department from scratch in a startup company and scaling company. So you can tell that I'm very people oriented when it comes to business and professional life. And I really care a lot about helping people reach their maximum potential and use their potential. And also, I do like speaking with people and understand where they are coming from and offer them guidance, support, and my own experience to kind of empower them in their journey. And yeah, when it comes to my current occupation, I'm mentor success manager at Femme. And if we talk about the role, it can be split, I think, into two parts. So I'm interviewing people who want to become mentors with us, and I'm assessing them, and then I'm onboarding them. But also I take care of the community of our mentors, and I'm supporting them by creating different resources and workshops, but also creating the engagement in the community.
That's really interesting. So that's how we met. And this is why I brought you onto the show, because today we're going to do sort of a unique take on it, as opposed to having just conversation or just Q&A. We're going to have a conversation, and we're going to talk about mentorship, because I think it's so important. And that's how you and I met, and you introduced me and onboarded me onto Femme. Could you describe what is Femme to somebody who doesn't know anything about mentoring or doesn't even know anything about where they would begin?
Yeah, definitely. So very briefly, Femme is a company or a platform that is providing mentoring to individuals. And that mentoring is focused especially on career, but when we speak about career, that has impact on your personal life, and your personal life has impact on your career. So what we do is we are focusing on helping people with their career decisions, with their career navigation, and especially women and the challenges that they are facing at work. So we work with hundreds of mentors who then are connected with mentees or matched with mentees through our platform, and they are helping them, whether it's in finding their career path or build their confidence or just finding work-life balance. So there are so many things that people are coming to us with. If we talk about mentoring itself and what it is, it's literally working with someone who is more experienced or has a skill set that can be helpful for you, and they can help you not just by giving advice, but also creating a plan, strategy, and give you guidance and support you on the way to succeed in the goals that you've got.
Yeah, and that's well said. Perfect. So, and this is where it brings us, because I think mentorship and mentoring and being mentored is super important. And one of the aspects that I find that most people don't know if they start a business, or even they're thinking of launching a business, or they're a freelancer, or they're in a career growth position, that mentorship really helps. So when you look at mentors, what are you guys looking for specifically that you think, okay, this makes a good mentor?
Yeah, that's a really good question. When we talk in general, you can have good or great mentors from any kind of field. They don't have to be people who are just employed in some company, but those are also people who are entrepreneurs, who are freelancers, who are coaches, and so on. So basically, it can be anyone who is able to utilize their experience and to hand it over to someone to help them, whether to grow their career or build their own business. And we've got actually on board a lot of mentors who are helping mentees with building their own business, not just understanding how to do it, but also defining it and helping them to avoid making some mistakes that they experienced in the past.
That's actually a really good point. So for myself, when I first started in this whole startup world, I'm a startup junkie. I've done, this is I think my fifth one I've started. Some successful, some who've fallen flat. But I remember having my first mentor late in my startup career. And it was something that I never really thought of before really it being super important. And then I realized the value. But one thing that struck me was when I first met my first mentor, he had a description. He said a mentor is somebody who's going to help you and listen to you and guide you generally. And then a business coach is somebody who's going to go and give you structure, explain you how to do it. And then the last step is a consultant is actually going to do the work for you, on your behalf, but help you along the way. And do you feel that, is that how you see mentors in that position, to really be a support as opposed to being more of a business coach where there's more hands-on?
I think that for us, mentor can be anyone from the people that you mentioned or from the focuses they have, really. So there are just certain things we are looking at in general, what mentors should have. So some ability really to connect with people and really be able to guide them, So when someone has their goals, they are not always even very specific. And we actually have mentees who are taking this mentorship program repeatedly, which is helping them on their journey and with different goals every time. But yeah, back to your question, to be honest, I think it really depends on the goals of mentee. And that's why we are looking at really the perfect match for them. So we've got people on board as mentors who can be very business oriented, very hard skills oriented, really focus on building the strategy, building MVP and things like that, but also people who are able to provide you this more general guidance. So if you come as a mentee with the goal of, I need to change my career, this is not working for me, but I am not sure what is the right path for me, we've got people and we've got mentors that are going to be able to help you even to figure out, what do I want in my life.
That's interesting. And when you look at a mentee and you sort of take a typical mentee that comes to you guys, and I think just even in general, you yourself have been a mentee, correct? Yeah. So you've experienced it yourself. What is one way that you guys differentiate a mentee from somebody who's ready to move forward, or do you guys have any sort of way to say, hey, this person's on the sort of on like sidelines, they haven't really decided yet to move, they're thinking about it, versus somebody who's really gung-ho? Because I think there's a big difference between somebody who's thinking of it and sort of looking at it, but they may not put the same effort and energy into it than somebody who's really ready to move. And do you guys have a way to differentiate those people and to really bring the maximum value to both parties, both the mentor and the mentee?
Yeah, we definitely do have a way, and it's coming, with the experience. And basically what happens when you apply as a mentee, you get in touch with one of my colleagues and you're gonna speak with them about what are your goals and what's your background. So we are trying to get the understanding of your situation and where you are going. And based on that, we also assess if you are ready for mentoring or not, because some people are not ready. Some people come with this very vague idea of, I want a change, because something is wrong, but I have no idea. And because of that, we've got also coaching program or coaching and mentoring program. So in cases like that, we do suggest them to first start with coach who is going to help them to create more specific goals and navigate them towards something that can be already workable with the mentor later on.
That's brilliant. Yeah. And that was a question, because you don't always see that part. And I think it's one of the hardest things is first meeting a mentee as a mentor. And I'm sure that my mentors, they had the same experience with me, as our mind's a bit everywhere. We have 100 things that we want to talk about, but there's certain things that we feel like, is this really necessary? Is this urgent? Or should I only focus on the most important parts? And I like to have your take on it. As a past mentee and somebody who helps people into this program, what do you think somebody looking to be mentored should ask themselves before they even start the process, before they start this journey? Because I think it's a big journey.
It is definitely a big journey. And it's though also great opportunity, if you want to give back. And that's what a lot of people come to us, that they want to be a mentor because they want to give back, or they want to share their knowledge because they wish they had mentor in the past that helped them and they didn't have it. So their journey was more difficult because of that. I think what is really important is to really reflect on yourself, on your experience, on your skills, and on your ability, to hand that over to someone else. Because I don't think 100% of people to have those skills and have that skill set to really work with mentee, and some of them really need to look more into it to understand what it means to be a mentor, and especially really understand that being a mentor is not about yourself and your own ego, but it's about being there for mentee. And that is something that you need to remember even when you are working with mentees, that you are asking questions and you are trying to figure out the way that you can help them. So you can share your experience, you can give them advice, but you can't do it too much, because that can actually overshadow kind of the goal of the whole mentoring.
Yeah, that's a great point. And from the side of the mentee, so do you feel there's a question that if somebody's coming into the program that wants to be mentored, before they even look at this, what questions they should ask themselves, if they need to be very concise, or can they come in with much more of an open agenda?
When you are applying to be a mentee with us and you are filling in this form, it forces you already to reflect a little bit on what are my priorities, because you've got options there. And I remember when I was applying to become mentee, it took me some time to really figure out, okay, pick the 3 that are most important for you. And I wanted to pick more, obviously, but it is not doable in 6 months program. So it really made me think like, okay, where do I want to start? Because having a mentor, it doesn't mean like you finish with mentor and that's the end, because it's a really long journey and it helps you to kick off that journey with working with mentor. But that does not mean that if you didn't manage to work on everything you wanted to, you can't do that anymore. So you do need to define what is the most crucial problem. But on the other hand, even when I look at my experience as a mentor, when you start working with mentee as a mentor, you can find out that their goals are set in some way, and mentees expect like, okay, these are my problems. But when you go a little bit more in depth, you find out that it is stuck somewhere on deeper level. And so you have to be able to work also with some kind of like even mental health. I don't want to call it issues really, but it's just experience that's coming from past that are kind of influencing, the goals, and mentees are not aware of it.
That's a great point. Sort of like roadblocks, like internal roadblocks. So that's interesting. And in your experience, do you feel that when mentors and mentees have good synergy, good chemistry, as you guys call it, have you seen the success? Do you often see afterwards, you get feedback from the mentees saying, oh, I've done this. And could you elaborate on how that turns into a lifelong mentee? Or do they tend to come once and that's it and leave?
To be honest, there are many cases, and I think it depends, what are really the goals, because we've got mentees who come to us and say, I just want to get this job, but I don't know how to approach it because I didn't apply for a job for a long time. I have no confidence whatsoever, and I need someone to guide me to get there. So if they reach that ultimate goal they had, it's fine for them to just say, thank you, it was great and it helped me and I got that job. But in general, what we know is that mentees and mentors are staying in touch, at least in certain extent. Some of them even form friendships, or some of them even carry on, having discussions that are helpful to mentee, even past the program. So it really, really depends. It really depends. But even I'm kind of keeping in touch with my former mentor, because it's always great to have someone to speak with that you manage to connect on some level during the mentorship. And it is not just about getting advice, but it's also about being heard, and feeling supported. And you're gonna carry that with yourself even further, that you have that person who understands you and shares some experience with you.
Yeah, that's a brilliant point, and that's so true. I'm still in contact with 2 out of my 3 mentors. One passed away, sadly, but yeah, I think it is like a lifelong relationship in many ways. It becomes a thinner relationship as it goes on, where it's less contact, but it's always something that you can come back to that person and sort of ask questions, and even just to ping them on an idea.
Yeah, definitely. And also it is like you are just gonna care about that person. And when you even see them on LinkedIn, they changed the role or they had some success. It doesn't matter if it's your mentor or if it's your mentee, but you're gonna care about it and you're gonna be genuinely happy for them. So there is going to be always this kind of even invisible support. So even if you don't communicate it like, yeah, I root for you, but you still feel it inside, I believe.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant. Typically, what is the program when you guys onboard a new mentee and you introduce them to mentors? Is there one question I was curious? Does it happen that the chemistries don't match often, or is it something very rare that somebody connects and they don't match?
It does happen, but I wouldn't say it happens often, because before they proceed to chemistry call, where they actually have opportunity to speak, we are really looking into the goals of mentee and what kind of environment they are coming from. And it makes even difference if they are coming from big company or small company, or if they are freelance, and what kind of background they've got. And also we are looking at that with the mentor. So already the first match that we are doing is quite focused, on being the best one we can get. And what we also have available is the notes from the interviews that I have with mentors. And what I love looking at is, what kind of mentor that is, like how I feel about speaking with them, what kind of personality they've got. So we are trying to understand that as well, which helps us then to match them with people also based on the personality, even before they really have an opportunity to check if it really works or not on chemistry session. But if it does not work on chemistry session, that's totally fine. And we are always saying you should not be worried about it, because we are doing this for you as mentee, and we need to make sure that it's just working out for you. So sometimes it's just, doesn't click, and that's fine.
Yeah, and the reason I brought that up is because I thought it was really interesting. In my past, when people have asked me to mentor them, or I've been introduced to somebody, as I was saying, to mentor them, I have found that some people were brilliant and they really came with an open mind, like sort of a blank slate. And other people came with almost an aggressive attitude of, what are you going to show me that I don't know already? And I found it difficult with certain people that they weren't willing to listen. And I don't know if that's something that's very common, because it was my personal experience. But when I did talk to a few mentors about that, and they also said the same thing, that they felt, sometimes you get a mentee who's very aggressive and feels that they know more. Is this something you hear a lot at Femme?
Luckily not, but I heard about it. I'm not speaking myself with mentees in the process when they apply, but my colleagues do. So we do share some information, of course, because it's important for me as well to understand how it all works. And we do have people who come and they are like, I was sent here and I'm not sure what I want from it. I'm not sure like what I expect. I'm not sure what mentoring could bring to me, So it's not very often, but it happens. But what we are making sure every time is that we tell them like, look, you are here and you need to be motivated, because mentor is not a person who is going to force you into taking any action. They are not going to force you to deliver. It's your own motivation and your own goals. So they can guide you, but they can't really make you do it. So if this is what you want or this is what you don't want, what's the point on being in the mentoring program? And luckily, I have to say that 99% of mentees come with really strong motivation, to really get something out of the program, and they see a lot of help, that they can get in their career goals.
That's brilliant. If you could give a piece of advice to somebody who's considering to become a mentee, what is something that you would get them to do first, to ask themselves, like sit down in a coffee shop and ask yourself these 3 questions? What would it be?
I think it would be actually just one question, and that is simply, why would you like to be a mentee? What do you see there as a benefit for you? Because if you can't define that first question, it's really hard to even ask anything else. So when I was coming to program as mentee, I kind of knew that I need help with certain things, but I also was not totally sure. But I had that idea, and I knew that if I'm going to speak with them, they will help me to define it. And that's what happened, So if you want to become a mentee, you need to make sure that it is going to bring you value, and you need to be motivated really to get that value from it. So even when you can't say exactly like, this is what I want from it, it's okay, to have thoughts on it and thinking, I think it might help me because I've got this idea about the product, but it's just an idea and it's very vague. But I think it might work, but I don't even know how to, progress with that. That's enough. That's enough to start with, I believe.
That's great. And sort of switching gears a little bit, if you were to say to a potential mentee and you guys were not existing, so Femme didn't exist, well, how would you tell somebody how to go and find a mentor, how to go and start that search? Because it's not obvious if people don't know Femme and they can say, I just can go to that website. But before we met, I never heard of you guys. So if you consider somebody like, if you cannot use our website, you cannot, you don't have access to it, or we didn't exist, what would be some key points you would tell somebody to find a mentor?
Yeah, that is actually really difficult, and I think we are making it so easy with our platform, because I was thinking about it myself, and the worst part is that you just don't know where to start, and I totally understand that. What I was thinking I would do is I would just pick some people that I look up to, or even I met in the past, and there is something that I believe I can learn from them. And I would just reach out to them and ask them like, hey, I think this is something that I can really learn from you, and I would really appreciate it if you can give me a piece of advice or even become a mentor. And to be honest, I don't really think that people who are really experienced and really good in what they are doing, I don't think they are going to tell you like, no, sorry, I don't do that. Most of the time they really like actually sharing it, and they appreciate if you approach them and tell them that you think that they are great in what they are doing and they would like to learn from you. So I think that's actually what makes a great mentor, and it doesn't have to be through Femme or through any other platform. Maybe the difficult part is actually to make yourself contact them. So because that's kind of like, I feel like I'm overstepping some boundaries. Maybe it's not gonna end up well. Maybe I'm gonna look like I'm totally incompetent. But I think you just need to get over yourself and just go for it, because that's the best shot you got.
That's brilliant. Yeah, and it's so true. It's that fear. of looking foolish and saying, I don't know what I don't know, and I need to ask somebody who I feel knows what I may not know. So that's great. So now I'm going to switch up the gears a little bit and go back to the traditional podcast part, the questions. And one question I think would suit really well in this case for you is if you can leave yourself a past message, so something before you started or mentoring that you would leave yourself today for your past self, what would it be and why?
There would be actually so many things I would tell to myself. But
one big one.
The thing is, I had incredible learning experience over the past months. So I think I've got a lot of wisdom from that. But if I should reduce it to one, it would be just believe more in what you are doing, that it's right. And it's not always your problem that something is not working out. And that is simply based on my experience and on my, let's say, constant trying of like, I want to get better, and something is not working out. I'm just gonna do my best. And if I do my best and it's still not working out, I'm gonna still search for something that I can do better, even when it gets to a point that better does not exist for me. So that's why.
I love that. It's great. Yeah, that's brilliant. Sort of now continuing with that, as somebody who obviously you guys work at Femme as part of the organization, but how do you stay focused and productive? Because there's so much. I was looking at all your platforms and everything that goes into it daily, from Notion to, the Meetly and all that. So how do you stay focused and stay productive in your role?
That is actually very difficult because, as you mentioned, there is a lot of things, and when you look at those two parts of my job that I mentioned, I think both are incredibly important and you can't really let one go to focus on another one. So I'm just trying to find a balance and prioritize. Sometimes we really need to focus more on getting mentors on board, but what I'm actually at the moment working at or looking at for literally upcoming weeks to focus on would be really to build the community more and make mentors connect among each other more. So it's constantly, about prioritizing, and I tried so many ways that what could help me really to not forget things, to prioritize. And I literally ended up with just making a list of things on the paper and marking them with different colors based on what day of the week I need to do it, giving it priorities, and also kind of at least writing down how much time I expect it would take me, so I can somehow balance it into days so it doesn't get overwhelming. But there are some days when it's like a lot.
I feel that. I know that. I hear that feeling so well, where it's just you have piles of paper everywhere. I do journaling. I have notes everywhere. I have sticky notes everywhere. So I feel that.
Yeah, maybe if I can just add what I'm just thinking about now. And I was sharing this a few days ago with my friend, and I think it is really important for everyone to realize, and that is that you are not going to be productive every day in the same way. So some days you are more focused on like doing the little tasks. Some days you are doing the brainstorming and creativity things and so on. And some days you just can't make yourself think that much because it's just not working, because you had bad night's sleep or something, and it doesn't feel right. So I think it's really important to understand at that moment, okay, I'm going to take a little bit of break. I'm going to take it easy. I'm not going to push myself. And I rather invest that time into my work when I'm more productive and I have better flow, because that is going to deliver much better results than now when I'm going to sit here for 2 hours and just struggle.
That's great. Yeah, that's so true. And it's so true. There's certain days that I get all my little tasks done, and other days it's like big items. But yeah, it's hard to focus exactly the same way every day, the same way. One of my favorite questions is, if you could meet any entrepreneur or business owner or any CEO, who would it be and why? And you would meet for a coffee and pick their brains.
There are actually so many I would like to meet.
And you could pick one.
But I'm going to pick one. And I was actually thinking about it in the past. And I follow a lot of people who are focused on self-development and building businesses. And they went through some journey that might have been challenging by themselves. And the one I actually ended up with is Lisa Billier. I don't know if you heard about her, but she is a co-founder and president of Impact Theory, and she also set up a billion-dollar company which is called Quest Nutrition. I'm not a sport type whatsoever, so that's not something that speaks that much to me. But on the other hand, she is extremely successful, she's strong, but she also has this very genuine understanding of what does it mean to be human and to struggle. And that is something that I think is important even in business. And if you lead people, that you have to understand that you can't push people, but rather come from the perspective of understanding. So I find her incredibly empowering, and she's doing also discussions or interviews on YouTube and so on. And yeah, I think she got a lot of common sense, a lot of experience, but also you can see that there has been so much self-reflection done that moved her so far. So that's absolutely great, and I would love to meet her for a chat.
That's great. I've never heard of her, so that's really interesting. What is one business book that you've read that has had or nonfiction that's had a major impact on your career?
Yeah, I read a lot of books, but when I should think about one that really had an impact on me, is one that I read quite recently, and it's called Pathless Path. It's written by Paul Millard. And I think it was the book that I just managed to read exactly at the right time of my life to take as much as possible from it, because it is a book that is about the journey of the author from living in countryside as a child to going to university, and then out of nowhere seeing everyone around them to just be interested in having status, having great job in corporate company, lots of money, and they just get sucked into that. And over time, the author, he reaches really great success, but he starts realizing that all this is more the society imposed expectations that he was following, rather than looking into himself and thinking about what he really wants from life. So he starts redoing his life, and he starts challenging all these beliefs and thoughts, and he's also facing a lot of backlash from people around him, because everyone's like, what are you doing? Why you are not happy with well-paid job, great status? And so he's walking against all these societal conventions and expectations, and he is just accepting the idea of constant learning and changing jobs that you do and projects you work on. And I think what was the impact on me is that I kind of felt so many things that he described in that book, that I was going through it, and I'm still going through it. So it was great to read about it, simply because I felt like someone understands me. So that was the first thing. Like, I was like, okay, I'm having a conversation here with someone that I never had before. And I don't think too many books can do that. And also it opened my mind in a way that I started thinking, okay, you know what? He can do it. I can do it. There are ways how it can work out. So just keep your mind open. And I think that's the best you can do in general in your life, to really look inside you and think about what I really want, and not just look at what everyone else is expecting from me.
That's great. We'll add his book to the show notes as well. That's great. Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
I really don't like that question, first of all. But
I'm glad I asked.
It's great. I don't like it, but I think there are so many ways you can answer it. And it just reminds me, to be honest, of being part of so many interviews when I was recruiting a lot of people, and managers love to ask that question. And I was always like, no, don't ask it, because on the interview, you can't give the right answer on that unless you say, I want to be in this role in 5 years where I'm now interviewing for. So, but in this environment, I think it's a great question. And to be honest, at the moment, I don't think I have any particular plan, because I learned kind of hard way that whatever you are planning is most likely gonna limit you rather than lead you where you want to go. So I just simply decided that I'm gonna see what kind of opportunities are coming my way. And if they are coming, I'm going to embrace it and I'm going to take it. Even if it's something I've never done before, I have no idea how to do it. I'm like super excited at the moment to actually go for it. So I'm watching myself at the moment and looking at, okay, where am I going? And I find it actually much more exciting than thinking, okay, in 5 years, I want to be in that job and that job. So I'm just keeping my mind open. But one thing I do know is that I want to work with people towards like really helping them reach their potential and really like help them to do what they want to do, because I've seen so much frustration lately among people, and I want to be just a part of their journey towards better things.
That's super interesting. Yeah, I love that. And I agree. Sometimes when we limit ourselves, if we overly focus towards an end goal, and leaving some to chance, I think is good. Well, my closing question of this podcast to everybody is, how could people reach out and connect with you? What's the easiest way? And we will be putting all this on our show notes as well.
Great. So definitely the easiest way is to find me on LinkedIn and drop me a message and connect with me there. But otherwise, you can find me also through Femme website, and in the future maybe somewhere else as well. But for now, I think LinkedIn is the safe bet.
Perfect. Well, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to come and join us and give us this interview. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, me too. And I'm so thankful for this opportunity. And I love to share a little bit of my experience and maybe wisdom with you, and also tell people about mentoring, and what great impact it can have. Because to be honest, I believe that there is still not that much knowledge about it. And I think we want to really point that out. Like if you have someone you look up to, talk to them, get advice, find a mentor, and it can really change your life.
That's perfect. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Business 911 is hosted and written by me, Olivier Bousset, and produced and edited by our talented podcast team. To listen to Business 911, you'll find us on all your favorite podcast apps, as well as YouTube. We hope you've enjoyed this interview and it's given you some valuable insights and helped you along your business journey. And if you have any comments or questions, please reach out to us. Thank you for joining us and listening to this episode of Business 911. A pitch deck in 60 seconds. We want to thank our sponsors, Pitch 2.0, a fully automated pitch creation and monitoring system, so you can focus on your product and not on the deck. You'll find them at pitch2.0.com.